In 1977, the Brazilian Air Force's UFO investigation, called Operation Saucer, generates a massive report which sits in classified government archives for over 20 years. The files contain roughly 500 photographs and 3,000 interviews with witnesses who claim that they were attacked by bright lights in the sky over the Amazonian island of Colares. It is not until 1997 that the veil of secrecy begins to lift. June 1997. UFologist and editor of the Brazilian publication UFO Magazine, A.J. Gevaerd, is at work when he receives a phone call. On the other end of the line is Captain Yorange Holanda. Holanda was in charge of the Air Force team sent to Colares back in 1977.
And he called me and said, I always admire what you've done. I think you've done the right things. And in the past, we weren't able to talk because, you know, I was in the military. But right now, I'm retired. And if you want to talk to me, please come to my place.
Soon, Gevaerd and his co-editor Marco Petit head to see Holanda. For 2 days, the three men gather at the captain's house in Cabo Frio, just outside Rio de Janeiro. They videotape the entire meeting.
He was a man with a very lucid memory, very, very good memory, who could report in details things that happened 20-some years before, with such a precision that impressed us.
The most important part, without a doubt, is his description of the encounters he had with these ships. He came face to face with ships that sometimes were 100 meters in diameter, of varied shapes, and that really placed him in a situation that few people, in global terms, had the opportunity to witness.
We could hear a sound like an air conditioner. That kind of dull sound. And deep inside the sound, there was a clicking noise, like the sound of a ratchet. This noise coming from the ship was very clear.
Holanda describes in detail 3 different encounters with alien spaceships. These are the drawings he made to depict his first encounter. He told the researchers that his second encounter occurred one evening while he and his team were standing on the beach.
The light came close to us and stopped high. It was high, quite high up there. But it stopped and actually made a circle around us. It made a circle and then took off toward the east.
The captain then describes his last and most shocking encounter. He tells the ufologists that he was visited by a humanoid from one of the ships while he was in bed.
I was lying on my side. Suddenly, a very powerful flash lit up the room. I was startled. I heard a strange thing, and immediately afterward, there was a being behind me, hugging me. It was a rather strange situation.
The captain then goes on to describe the alien.
It was 1.5 meters tall, more or less, dressed in a suit resembling an astronaut or a diving suit. It was kind of soft. It wasn't very tight. I didn't see the face. It had a mask that was lead gray, and I couldn't tell the details of the face. I didn't see any eyes. I didn't see any shape.
Holanda also tells the researchers that the alien spoke to him.
I was very frightened. And that thing behind me, hugging me, squeezing me, And it spoke into my ear in Portuguese, with a sound. It seems like a computer, that metallic voice. It spoke into my ear. Take it easy. We're not going to do you any harm.
Hollanda says that the alien then disappeared.
He could tell us with such a precision what happened. And you can see that there was a great variety of objects operating in this area. Some objects, strangely, they would come from the jungle. They would come from between the trees. Some other would come from the sky. And a few others would come from the water. That's very amazing.
The captain makes another startling claim. He shows the ufologists his arm. There appears to be an object implanted under the skin. He says that the alien put it there during his last encounter.
Flexible, plastic. Here, you press and it shows up there. This point here.
Did you ever get it x-rayed?
Yes, but it didn't show anything.
In July 1997, Hollanda's story is published in Gevaerd and Petit's UFO magazine. But those hoping that his startling disclosure will lead to a second investigation are disappointed. Instead, a new chapter of the Colares mystery begins. On October 2nd, 1997, Captain Hollanda dies. The official cause of death is asphyxia, but it is not clear if the death was accidental, suicide, or perhaps murder. According to colleagues, Hollanda did have a history of mental illness and had attempted to kill himself before. Yet others who knew the captain say it could not have been suicide. His co-pilot, Pinon Frias, suspects that he may have been murdered.
Hollanda would never take his own life. I can't accuse anyone of anything either. But he would never tie a rope around his own neck and lie down hanging himself.
But A.J. Gevaerd disagrees with Frias.
He took his own life. That was his decision. He was depressed. But what I know is that that man left us a very important message, is that we are being visited. And the Brazilian Air Force, which means the Brazilian government, knows about it.
In March 2004, A.J. Gevaerd and Marco Petit decide to take action. 6 years after the captain's death, they demand access to the classified Colares report under a campaign they created called Freedom of UFO Information Now.
This kind of information that we are talking now, I believe as a UFO researcher and as a citizen of Brazil, that it should not be restricted to the military files, to the military headquarters. It must be known by all society.
In the Air Force archive, Gevaerd and Petit will find these sketches and photos made by Hollanda and his team. Records that have been hidden for over 30 years.